ein Game vor seinem Win-and-In-Chat. Versteht ihr das? Versteht ihr das? Es ist ein Game vor seinem Win-and-In.
Really interesting set of Kovacs
Checkt ihr das?
with Fischer, Curse and Yawn as well on top of the wave crash. So yeah, but I'm being interested.
Ein Game.
Carlos would be running as well.
Das wird doch endlich. Chat hat jemand ein bisschen Geld, ich muss meinen Strom zahlen. Jokos.
Regulation set H really does. It's like, hey, let's
Ja, mal ein bisschen Kleingeld. 2 Games vom Spinnen
let's just throw it away and just use the Pokemon as their own selves, really maximize their potential in the format now that they haven't got as much competition to be vying for those all-important 6 team slots.
Yeah, for sure. And whichever match we feature is, of course, going to be a great one. And whether it's going to be the 7-0 going into maybe undefeated territory in that day 2, which, as we've alluded to, is exactly where you want to be. You would only need one more match, one after that in day 2, to be able to make it into that top cut.
Yeah, and it looks like
rein in die Werbung,
finished voting,
so
so
gemein.
we'll just wait to find out the final result, make sure that's all on board. But here it is. We have Federico Camperosi versus
das ist so klar, dass es gewinnt.
Manolafce.
Yeah, it's going to be that Flamigo version of the Porygon 2 Ursula against that Vivian, which we have to, of course. I believe this is going to be the first time we're featuring Golden Go on the stream, even though it was the 3rd most used Pokemon in this tournament.
Pretty impressive that it's
ja, ich muss jetzt den bei kurbeln, Chat. Ich laufe gerade auf dem Laufband.
We get 2 of them for the price of 1 now.
Damit Strom läuft.
In this Swiss round 8, and yeah, a sort of mirror match in the way that, you know, there's the Porygon 2, there's the Golden Go, there's the Incineroar. Those are the sort of core pieces of both of these teams, but there's a very different flavor of structure for the other 3 Pokemon. The Vivillon, Primarina, and Garchomp versus the Ursaluna being the ground-type Pokemon of choice of Anthony, and that Flamigo and Amoonguss to support the more Trick Room-focused version of a team that Anthony's running.
I think that's the key thing, that the Ursaluna version is definitely more focused towards Trick Room. Yeah. Very much appreciates getting the Trick Rooms, the speeds reversed, so that Ursaluna suddenly is probably the slowest thing and just sweeps through with its guts boosted facades. Whereas on the flip side for Federico, doesn't really matter if you're in Trick Room or not.
0-2 reingestartet, ne? Der hat jetzt seit den 5 Games gewonnen.
Sometimes potentially, and Primarina and Incineroar would like to be in Trick Room as well, but at the same time, because you've got the faster sleep than the Amoonguss with the Vivian as well available, and Garchomp doesn't really want to be in Trick Room, then you don't need to go for that at all.
Sometimes you're using Trick Room to stop Trick Room. If
Geh nochmal schnell meine Blase leeren, bis gleich.
Then Trick Room doesn't in fact stay up on the board. So definitely some mind games here, depending on how these trainers want to approach it. And of course, with the Golden Go Mirror, with them both being a ghost type, that's something that both players are really going to have to consider very strongly, is whether or not the Shadow Ball on each one is going to be able to go first. And does that force some options with terrestrialization?
Well, I think that gives just the advantage to the Garchomp, effectively, because Ursaluna, you'll have to be in Trick Room to try and avoid the massive make-it range that will be coming out from Golden Go, and then the Garchomp can support really nicely. The speeds on the Golden Go, well, you would assume that the one with the Garchomp is faster, because if you want to be slow for Trick Room as well, then that you'd be able to add a lot of bulk because you want to be slower. So assumedly that's the case. Who knows? Depends on whether because I have this Ursaluna that is super slow, I want to be a super fast Golden Go to compensate.
Yeah, just like put some pressure on in the early game, make sure you sort of punch a hole through your opponent's team, and then try to set up that Trick Room, get the Ursaluna going when your opponent doesn't have quite as many resources to handle the Ursaluna in the back. Well, we'll have to see how this matchup shakes up. I'm excited, Jamie, seeing how these trainers are going to be approaching it, both in the way that they've built their teams, but also, yeah, when you've got 3 Pokemon in common, it's not the most common amount of Pokemon to have in common. Sometimes, a lot of the time, you have either more or none. But it's definitely close enough that both of these players are going to have to do a lot of thinking in the way that they're going to be approaching the game.
Yeah, you can tell that the team building approach has been very similar.
Aber ich sag, 2-mal Stromausfall während Sabaton schon wild. Das habe ich auch noch nicht erlebt.
Yeah, like it's very close, and I think it's going to be much more of a positioning kind of game rather than, well, the previous set that we saw him was just over it and like blast through in a few turns.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a little bit of a closer look at Federico
Ganze Wohnung weg.
Camperosi as a player as
ganze
well.
Wohnung weg.
They're very well known in the community, a very, very good
Oh
player.
nein.
But look at those achievements.
Jetzt ist unser großer Reset wieder wahrscheinlich irgendwo ganz anders. Hoffen wir einfach mal, dass es dort bleibt, wo wir eingestellt haben.
In 2023 and getting top 32 at the North American International Championships just last year.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, back in the top 4 of that World Championships, he was using that Luna, and then he's kind of shifted away to this Garchomp instead, and is now going to be facing
schon
instead for that win
bin auf
into the day 2.
Federico.
So, yeah, a little bit of a shift up there, and just shows his flexibility as a player to, well, this could have been the Luna version, and I am used to this. I got top 4 at Worlds with the Pokemon, but going for the Garchomp instead.
Yeah, and that's the really nice thing about how these great players adjust. I mean, talking to
ich feiere es aber, wie Reim nach und nach immer mehr consistent wird. Checkt den Chat. Das finde ich richtig geil. Finde ich sehr, sehr cool. Aber es ist crazy, dass wir noch ein Game vor Dings fertig, also noch ein Game und dann sind wir fertig mit Dings. Mit Dortmund für heute. Das ist krass, wie schnell das heute geht. Oh, Reim spielt gegen Markus Sponholz. Ich hoffe, der holt den Win.
Pokemon around me, where's the context that you have to be able to account for? So Federico, yeah, doing a fantastic job of that. And yeah, again, I gotta do more shout outs to the Vivian.
Yeah, for sure. Vivillon is such an interesting Pokemon, and it pairs really well with Garchomp as well because of that immunity to the
Nur noch ein Game vor seinem Win in.
Whereas if you have a
So gleich Pocket 1 gegen 1. Nee.
In order to be able to get the spread damage. So it's
Nee.
Yeah, and well, Garchomp's been doing pretty well all across the day. Let's have a look at some of these standings here. As we were talking about, Ross Stewart was our 7-0 player in the community choice that we haven't been able to feature this time around. Fai's there, kicking up the rear with another 7-0. Michael Helst, when he was 5-0, he was also 10-0 in games.
Ein Game and wer muss win
then, if any. Because if anyone was going to go 7-0 with a 14-0 record, I can see it being Mikhail.
Yeah,
he's das schlechteste 5-2-Ergebnis, oder? Nee, das zweitschlechteste.
Basically in the game.
Michael Sebesti!
Absolutely, really strong showing, cementing their place
Michael
in that day 2. With a
Sebesti.
really cool team as well. Going for the unconventional, I say unconventional, it seemed to be Electabuzz versus Magmar, and Electabuzz made it into the top 12, but Magmar didn't make it in there. The more uncommon pick for that Follow Me user, but Michelle, of course, using it very effectively.
Absolutely, and looking a bit further down the list, of course, Joan Garcia, our 7-0, Cohen as well, Antonio as the last 7-0, but certainly not the least.
Jetzt reicht's da langsam hier.
Earlier on stream was able to do
Michelle Obama.
Really well. Look at that team. We saw it being played by, or a similar version at the very least, being played by Paul Chua in the Baltimore Regionals just 2 weeks ago, and showing that it's consistent. Even though the meta game has changed, even though things aren't quite the same as they were a couple of weeks ago, still finding a place here and still able to be putting on a great show.
Yeah, Antonio's ability to take a team that is established and still be able to be incredibly consistent with it is really impressive. Like back in his Liverpool Regional Championship win, Wolf Glicker just won that's regional over in America, and then immediately Antonio takes the same team and wins the whole thing over here in Europe as well. So it's a bit like he's a very consistent player, being able to go with the, like I keep saying tried and true team. I don't want to say it just yet, and I keep saying it. It's been one tournament. We'll have to see though. 7-0 is pretty good.
But if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Seems so.
If it ain't broke, I mean, that's the really key decision I think that a lot of players have to make coming into these tournaments is like, hey, I could just try to emulate what a player that's done really well with.
Ja, es ist schade, dass auch nicht da ist.
Previously with.
Wenn es jetzt sein Win in-Game ist, wie er dann noch ein Game davon entfernt, dass das eine Game da die ganze Zeit eine Lüge. Was noch die? Ich check gar nichts. Sprich Deutsch mit mir.
Probably the first and last time we'll see a Kilowatt Troll, at least in this tournament on stream, unless Ivar is on stream again in the top 8. And To be honest, I've got my fingers crossed for him because that's such a cool team and such a good way to play.
Also ein Game für Win It In, aber es ist doch jetzt Win It In. Ja. Also, Mann. Das sind Eevees. Ich checke, jetzt checke ich. Let's go, CGG, steckst du Pitche, ja, ich war schon immer Fan.
Moves like Sleep Powder, especially boosted by the compound eyes, if that's what Federico is running, is very, very dangerous. I mean, we were talking about it earlier today, Jamie. It's like kind of Spore, but not quite. Like, it's not quite fully accurate, but it's close enough that you can kind of think of it like Spore.
Gegen wen spielt Michi? Michi spielt gegen the one and only. Oh, gegen Feis. Wie steht es? Reim ist Day 2. Friendly Fire. Die beiden deutschen 7-0er. Es stehen zwei deutsche 7-0 und die müssen gegeneinander. Die da oben, Chat, die da oben. Wir wissen's. Die können uns nichts erzählen. Die da oben.
This weekend, where Mousehold can go for the Friend Guard or the Technician, depending on which way around. We've already covered Federico's achievements there.
Wir wissen, wie es läuft. Rein in die Wette, Chat! Rein in die Wette! Gewinne,
twice over. 2023 Liverpool Regional Top 16, 2023 World Top 4, and 2024 Top 22 in the North American International Championships.
Yeah, and Anthony able to qualify for Hawaii last season as well.
4-2, let's go!
28 is a very solid showing for sure. And still was able to compete in the Liverpool Regional Championship, making it most likely into that day 2 with the top 64 as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely great achievements for Anthony. It's showing the consistency in the most recent sets of formats, and you know, sometimes when you've got a player with so much experience over the years, it doesn't necessarily translate into every regulation set. Whereas the players that are picking up the game, I mean, we saw it last week with Nicholas winning the first regional championships that they attended because they're just fresh into the new format. But let's have a look. Jamie, take us through.
So, Vivian.
Yeah, we are going to be seeing the compound ice Sleep Powder version of the Vivian coming out for Federico there. Of course, the Terra goes to stop any fake outs that could be coming out. The Pre-Marina is opting for Haze as its tech move, going to be able to stop Dondozo pretty comfortably. The Terra fighting Porygon 2 is something that is picking up quite considerably, it seems. So you're going to be able to threaten things like King Gambit for massive damage against Archelodon. You're going to be able to threaten that for super effective damage as well. Of course, there is that Garchomp. It is holding that life orb that we so classically see on it, and it's going to be Terra Water as well. That's quite a nice tech move. Tech Terra is what I'm going for. Tech Terra. I don't think I've ever said Tech Terra before.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Tectonic, Garchomp, you know, it's a ground type.
That's what I was going for.
Absolutely. I could see it, Jamie. I could see you were just struggling for the words there, but here we are on the other side.
Struggle is also
die Goldzeitphase.
There you go, struggling for the moves. Anthony on the other side has his Amoonguss with the Terra
Hinter mir ist Amoonguss. Massage NB, ja. Falls du den Joke bringen möchtest, ja, der massiert dich.
Flamigo, that's the Pokemon I've got my eyes on.
Flamigo.
Scrappy being able to block, intimidate,
mit Scrappy
able to hit the ghost type, so could be really important
Massage
in
und so, ne?
mirror that Flamigo is able to
LME, ja, genau.
damage on it. And of course, rounding out the 6, the Nasty Plot Golden Go, the Trick Room at Porygon 2, also Terra fighting, and that Terra Ghost Ursaluna with its guts, and that trademark Flame Orb.
Yeah, and some trainers on this kind of team opt for Terra Normal on Ursaluna just for absolutely massive. This is absolutely KOing you in one shot facades, but yeah, Terra Ghost as well. We've seen Terra Ghost consistently across all of these teams. We saw it on the Vivian, the Flamigo as well. It's mainly to stop fake outs like that, because Ursaluna wants to sweep through Trick Room. You've only got 4 turns to be able to do it. If you lose a turn to a fake out, and suddenly an entire turn of Trick Room gone, you're probably not going to be able to sweep through it. So yeah, Terra Ghost, very consistent option. Of course, it gets the immunity to fighting type attacks that would be very strong into Ursaluna as well.
And what I really like in combination with that is that you've got the Terra flying on the Incineroar, so when you do set up that Trick Room, when you do get that Ursaluna going, you have another option
meinst du allgemeine Alerts?
To be able to
Das kann sein, warte, lass uns mal gucken. Deswegen ging letztens unsere Alerts nach dem Stromausfall nicht. Das erklärt einiges, warte.
Ein Game, 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 ein Game.
Like most trainers, when, like you said, they see it as a sport Pokemon, let's invest completely into its bulk, but it can absolutely do some damage if you invest in its attack.
Mann, was soll das? Aber ich kann endlich wieder Leute timeouten. Nee, es geht immer noch nicht. Hä, was ist denn das für eine Scheiße? Pink Chrome, hä? Was ist das denn? Löscht Cookies, dann verliere ich alle meine Showdown-Teams. Muss die vorher speichern. Ich habe jetzt keinen Bock drauf. Lösch doch deine eigenen Kekse.
While the fake-out pressure is on Frederico right now, the Primarina is in a fantastic position next turn to be going for some damage.
Yeah, you're going to store this turn of fake-out, of course, coming out from that Incineroar, which is absolutely what was going to happen there. And yeah, dual wing beat would be able to KO that Vivian through its focus sash. Not the common break that we've been seeing on the Flamigo, so maybe just going for dual wing beats because of the lack of recoil to break your own focus sash. But maybe Anthony was expecting all these Vivian to be able to come out because now, yes, Flamigo is faster than Vivian. It's able to knock it out in one shot, so you'll be able to stop any of the sleep powders that could be stored. It's close. It's close.
Was geht, Aki? Benutzt Chrome? Ja.
But it's slower than Flamigo, and that would be able to pick up the knockout with the dual wing beat.
And that's why Vivian is going straight back to Federico, deciding to switch in there Incineroar. The Intimidate's going to come out onto the board, but not going to affect that scrappy Flamigo. It's going to be attacking at full power this turn. And yeah, here we go, the dual wing beat. No close combat called Incineroar on the switch in, just going for the safe play there. Incineroar taking that like an absolute champ. Parting shot, slowing down that Primarina, but most notably, even though Federico is going for a faster, less Trick Room orientated team, the Incineroar on Anthony's side was faster than the Primarina, and that's not something I would have necessarily expected.
No, but it's going to be impactful here because that Incineroar gets out of the field, so it's not going to be able to take any of the super effective hyper voices that is coming out from the Primarina. And yeah, look at that, that Porygon 2 took absolutely nothing, but the Focus Sash is broken on the Flamigo, and that was still, like, it didn't do that much damage, but the Focus Sash being broken means that Moonblast can now be a KO, even at -1. Flare Blitz is still probably a KO into the Flamigo as well.
And of course, we can see the Terra Ghost there on the Incineroar. That's definitely a call that both of these players are going to have to be thinking about, because if the Flamigo just goes straight for the close combat into the Incineroar and it goes for a Terra Ghost, it's not going to do anything whatsoever.
It will, because of the Scrappy. That's exactly why we see Flamigo. Yes, it would be a defensive Terra, so it would go back to neutral. So based on the dual wing beat damage, maybe it would survive.
Einstellungen, Datenschutz und Sicherheit. Ich hab das gleiche. Ganz unten Website-Einstellungen. Nach Website sortierte Berechtigung.
I like that play quite a lot, and not just because it's the consistent Incineroar cycle that we've come to know and love in the video game championships, but because it means that the Flamigo is safe for later. It's definitely going to be one of those Pokemon that's going to make a big impact in the end game. You want to make sure that it's still there when the Vivian comes back onto the field, just to pressure away those sleep powders. Moonblast doesn't do much damage whatsoever, and a parting shot into that.
Mann, da werde ich von Twitch und so abgemeldet. Nö, mach ich jetzt nicht, juckt. Nö.
Yeah, but it would still be able to break a Focus Sash of this now switching in Vivian. Vivian that has hit the field, but no, it's not going to be attack. It's going to be the Trick Room instead, and very, very impactful there that we saw that the Incineroar was outspeeding the Primarina, so actually this is kind of benefiting the Primarina to be in this position. Vivian is now the slowest Pokemon on the field, so going for a Sleep Powder into that Porygon 2 might not happen if the Porygon and the Incineroar just double up into it with a Flare Blitz and a Terra Blast.
Especially since the Primarina has its stats already dropped, its special attack has been dropped, it's probably not going to be able to, well, we saw it's not going to be able to do anything to the Porygon 2. It's probably not going to be able to do too much to the Incineroar either, so could be something that's worth considering is going for a haze in this situation. Reset your own stats, and then you kind of make Hyper Voice a little bit more of a viable option.
Yeah, but there's just the Ice Beam and really good damage into the opposing Vivian. There's the Hyper Voice, but because
irgendwie finde ich das Primarina richtig underwhelming, oder? Oder bin es nur ich? Ich finde der wirklich underwhelming.
On that Vivian, no Sleep Powders into the Porygon 2.
I think after the Trick Room, the Vivian is kind of the weak link in the team in that situation. But now the Golden Go gets an opportunity to come in, and Golden Go with its Steel and Ghost typing is walling Porygon 2, so to speak. Porygon 2 can't do too much damage to the Golden Go whatsoever. And now that the Primarina is in a spot where the Incineroar has taken a lot of damage, the Primarina is going
okay, Stormy, viel Spaß.
It's able to knock it out and allow the space for Golden Go to go for a boosting nasty plot, get itself set up, and maybe I guess if the Flamigo comes in and we're still in Trick Room, that would be putting a lot of pressure on the board.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with a Hyper Voice nasty plot. Maybe Anthony needs to consider reversing his own Trick Room now to be able to allow that Flamigo to outspeed the opposing Golden Go and then threaten the KO. But nope, not going to be reversing it here. It's going to be the Terra Blast for not really much damage at all into that Primarina, and that is able to respond back with a KO into the Incineroar.
I mean, Porygon 2 and Primarina are trying their best, and Primarina's doing a little bit of a better job than Porygon 2 right now. But just a make it rain on the Golden Go
really
there.
Good damage.
Yeah, really great damage. Single target, not a spread move anymore because the Incineroar was already knocked out.
Ich lese die ganze Zeit Anthony C. Maloche.
Probably putting the Porygon 2 in range of maybe a Moonblast from the Primarina if it's able to even land one at this stage.
Yeah, probably not Hyper Voice, not a -1, but yeah, Moonblast, that's going to be close. That should be able to pick up the knockout on that Porygon 2. Ursaluna has joined the field, but it's not burned yet, so it's not going to be able to do as much damage. But he's going to be able to pick up the knockout on the opposing Golden Go, even without
the Theorie müsste eigentlich Federico gewinnen. Rein von den Vergangenheit. Federico schon kranker Gamer.
You've got the Incineroar waiting in the back that you could switch in, reset the special attack drop that you
just
take
off
the Golden Go, and get the Intimidate onto the opposing Ursaluna, so your Primarina is definitely going to be able to survive and hopefully get that Moonblast into that opposing Porygon 2, and that looks like it might be exactly what we're seeing here.
Incineroar coming in, and as you said, Jamie, getting that Intimidate onto the field. Of course, it is Terra Ghost as well, so the Headlong Rush isn't going to be doing super effective damage at all. And now
Mich eine Maschine. Hat gesagt 100% Day 2. Ja, nicht gelogen. Er hat gesagt 100% Day 2, 75% Top Cut. Ich hoffe, dass er das 8-0 holt. Echt schade wegen Fire Friendly Fire, aber aber kein Dings, kein Fake-Out.
To be able to come in and deal with the Golden Go. In the meantime, Porygon 2's got to stay on the field and keep itself healthy with recover.
Yeah, and that was really not much damage at all from that Hyper Voice.
Oder kein Fake-Out, ich hab schon dumm.
The special defenses of that Ursaluna going for its Ghost Terror, so it was neutral to that water Hyper Voice. Means it's actually still pretty healthy here.
I'm off friendly fire.
It looked like it could have been in range of Moonblast, but of course the Porygon 2 was slower than that Primarina, so even if it would have been a Moonblast into that slot, it would have been able to get that recover first and easily be able
Top Cut ist sowieso erst morgen. Also rein kann easy noch, also ja, safe. Der ist Day 2. Rein. Also für heute ist der durch. Der kann auch, wenn er verliert, jetzt morgen noch Top Cut kommen. Reim steht gerade 6-1. Wenn er gewinnt, ist geil für morgen, weil er ist dann einfacher, an Top Cut zu kommen. Aber selbst wenn er verliert, hat er noch easy Chancen, Top zu kommen. Aber dann wird es morgen ein bisschen rougher. Das ist ja irgendwie am Dreier. Boah, die Recover ist so insane, wirklich.
Able to recover once again, back up to full HP, and the Ursaluna was not targeted here at all. There goes the EVO light from that Paragon 2, thanks to that knockoff from the Incineroar. So very, very solid play coming out from Federico here, right as the Trick Room is over.
That's a big, big deal. We saw how much damage to Make It Rain from this Metal Code Golden Go did in the previous turn. It was single target, so it's kind of similar, like making all of the Make It Rains kind of single target in terms of the damage that it's going to deal. But I think I'm more worried for Anthony about the damage that can potentially be taken.
Ich hätte schon echt Bock auf die Regulation, ich sag ehrlich.
Especially if the Ursaluna doesn't.
Die Regulation sieht eigentlich richtig spaßig aus.
And Federico calls it, goes for a Shadow Ball, just knocks it out. I think that's most of Anthony's damage down. I mean, you've got the scrappy Flamigo in the back, but it can only target one Pokemon at a time, and its focus sash has already been broken.
Yeah, I reckon this is still going to KO though, because it's taken a headlock.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Well, so I reckon it would have survived without that, but yeah, the special defense drop, that's a KO on the Ursaluna here. Porygon 2 without its EVO light has surely got to be in range of Flare as well.
Weil ich glaube, Flareblitz killt P2.
And I don't think Flamigo with a focus sash broken is able to 1v3 here.
Only targeting one Pokemon at a time really is the downfall for Flamigo. If he wants to go for a close combat to knock out
ich bin halt ein bisschen biased, weil Ghost mein Lieblingstype ist. Wahrscheinlich eine 50-50 zwischen Ghost und Steel. Sind wahrscheinlich meine Favorites.
Yeah, after a defense drop, it probably would do. Of course, now that it's single target on Make It Rain as well, there's another scenario where the Incineroar goes down to a close combat, or maybe even a dual wing beat if you're feeling confident about it. But then Make It Rain single target is probably going to knock out the Flamigo from here regardless.
Yeah, I would suspect it would. Even at -1, you got the Metal Coat boost as well. There does go the Incineroar down to that dual wing beat, able to pick up the KO there. But now, like you said, this is still single target. Flamigo's defenses aren't great, to be honest. So even with this -1, there goes the Flamigo, and game 1 for Federico.
Meiner Meinung nach den Einzelnen bei Ghost. Safe. Aber die Axt im Kopf ist halt auch übel insane, ne?
Was that Primarina just being able to sit in front of Anthony's Pokemon and kind of not worry about it. I think like there's definitely a conversation to be had. I think
die Ballons sind auch irgendwie sick. Ich mag die Ballons auch gerne, auch wegen Pikachu. Der Totenkopf von Dings. Oh, Kampf finde ich auch sehr geil. Kampf finde ich aber auch sehr geil. Muss ich sagen. Aber ja, Ghost und Steel sind auf jeden Fall Tier 1.
Liquid Voice, Hyper Voice being a water type move, you still might be worth it, because then you've got more turns of Ursaluna being able to go for a facade, go for a headlong rush, and try to punch some holes in Federico's team.
Yeah, it does seem like counterintuitive that Ursaluna is the best way through the Primarina. You just got to be contend with the Intimidate that can come out. Maybe the Golden Go can do something as well. If you get a Nasty Plot off, you're going to be able to KO the Primarina in one shot, given that you are the Life Orb variant of the Golden Go, so they're going to be able to threaten some really good damage with that as well. But that was left on the bench last time, so maybe consider going with the Golden Goat against the opposing, like Vivian can't go for... I almost said Spore again. Can't Sleep Powder you because of Good as Gold, even though it does outspeed you, and it can't redirect your Make It Rains as well. So Golden Goat could be a reasonable adjustment here coming out for Anthony.
I really like that idea, and especially with the Life Orb as well.
Ich glaube, das hier wäre wahrscheinlich President's Day 2, ja. Ich glaube, das hier wäre meine Tierliste. Ich glaube, das wäre mein Pick.
Can do, and yeah, I do agree that it would be dishing out a lot of damage in that scenario. Also,
die Tierliste hoch auf UD.
Didn't bring their own Life Orb Garchomp.
30 Sekunden Video.
So maybe if Anthony's thinking, hey, how do I adjust to this? I didn't see a Garchomp last game. Maybe the Golden goes an even better
Short, einfach nichts sagen. Im Hintergrund irgendeine englische Stimme. Keiner checkt, was abgeht. Stella. Stella Crown aus. Achso, Stella wäre auch S-Tier. Und Dani, was geht? Ja, Respekt. Das ist okay.
The Safety goals in the Incineroar here gonna be quite impactful. useful because you can ignore the Rage Powder that could be coming out. Assumedly, Anthony wants to be able to go for Rage Powder and Nasty Plot, and then suddenly there's the KO into the opposing Primarina, but you can't as safely go for that.
Nochmal Worlds gewonnen, Luca hieß er, glaube ich.
Straight away. Which is going to be reasonable. Like, you resist Hyper Voice as well, and if you do Rage Powder, that's going to be able to draw away any Moonblast that would have into that Golden Go. So, yeah, Golden Go, like, it's threatened by the safety goggles Incineroar, but it's still in a somewhat reasonable position because it does have that defensive terror of Terra Dragon.
Primarina gegen Incineroar.
Primarina's not going to be sticking around at all. Maybe doesn't deal with the Life Orb boosted Make It Rains, regardless of the scenario. Golden Go going for the Protect, and I really like that. It looks like Anthony's trying to get... okay, I thought it was trying to get a little bit cheeky with the going for a Spore that Federico was covering, but no, instead just a double Protect to scout out the Fake Out. Now Golden Go's on the field for Federico, and these Golden Go are staring each other down, but there's redirection on one side of the field, but not the other.
Yeah, and Amoonguss is in a really rough position now because, yeah, you could redirect the Shadow Ball, and that would do really good damage since the Golden Go, but you can't Spore either Pokemon. There's the safety goggles, and there's the Good as Gold ability that's going to be preventing that. So, yeah, it's really awkward for that. Rage Powder next to Nasty would have been really nice in that first position.
Sorry, schreibt sich von alleine.
That very safe double Protect instead. If that would have been a Terra Dragon and maybe a side Pollen Puff Nasty Plot, that could have put Anthony in an absolutely fantastic position, but playing too passively there allowed that switching of the Golden Go, and now it's almost like it's a 2v1 because that Amoonguss is really not doing anything and is forced to switch out.
I like the switch out though, and I think the Terra Dragon that you called out for turn 1 could be just as effective in turn 2 here, but Incineroar's going to come in. Make sure that Incineroar on Federico's side of the field is kept a little bit in check on this turn, and we are going to be seeing the first Terra of game 2. It's going to be the Golden Go, and it's going to be a Terra Dragon, so that looks like that's going to be Anthony's Golden Go, just trying to maybe get set up or even just put a Shadow Ball on the field.
I know, as Federico's, they're both Terra Dragon, and Federico's is faster, went for a Make It Rain instead. A very, very brave
Aber kein Terra, das heißt, perfekt für Federico. Hat Knockoff im Goldengo gedrückt. Das war aber echt harter Damage. Aber hat Knockoff reingedrückt, ich glaube, es killt. Oh, der meint... Und jetzt kann er gefake-outet werden.
And speaking of Life Orb recoil, Jamie, that's going to be impactful for two reasons. First is that, you know, he's not going to be able
Kann ich einfach Goldengo fake out und Shadow Ball in Goldengo drücken?
Go at low HP to hang on and you know, attack turn after turn after turn.
Das ist nicht richtig gut gerade für Anthony.
Side, it was the faster of the two Golden Go. It's going to have to think about protecting from the fake out, but if the Incineroar reads into that,
Aber Federico considered gar nicht. Nee. Crazy. Crazy. Perfekt für Federico.
Yeah, and that's one of the big ways through the Primarina taken care of. You got Amoonguss and Incineroar that absolutely will not break through the opposing Primarina. I think you could tell by the reaction of Anthony there that might have been a potential speed tie that he went for, because obviously he knows the training. If he is as fast as possible with the Golden Go, and Federico's was moving first, he knew that it could have been a speed tie. And there's the Flamigo there. So yeah, where's the damage into the Primarina now?
Yeah, I don't see it either. I mean, you've got the Amoonguss. What's the Amoonguss
it's just
running?
Puff.
It's just Pollen Puff. Yeah. So maybe it's the Incineroar.
It's not. No, it's not.
Just keep Pollen Puffing it back.
Yeah, no,
shot.
No, dual wing beat, I guess, is the best that we've got. So, and if you just break the focus sash of the Flamigo, then you just follow it with the Moonblast KO whenever you want now. So, yeah, really, really solid position for Federico. Even without the Primarina on the field, you just need to start chipping away at the Flamigo, and then, yeah, where is the damage going to come from?
Well, this damage is going to come from Flamigo into Incineroar getting a close combat KO, but again, that leaves this Golden Go for Federico to make it rain yet again. It's at 2 stages of decreased special attack right now, but that doesn't matter. You can just break a focus sash and wow, we're seeing the effect of how much damage that's going to be onto the Flamigo from game 1. Wow, that's even more impressive as the knockoff does knock out that Golden Go, but we're back. As you're saying, Jamie, we're back now to the Primarina and the unrevealed Vivian coming out for Federico. And Yeah, I mean, I guess the good thing for Anthony right now is that the Primarina, the Primarina is slower than the Incineroar. So it does give you some opportunities to play a little bit aggressively into it. I mean, the Vivian has to be knocked out this turn kind of by the Flamigo, but then that opens the door to Hyper Voice coming out from the Primarina. It's a really tough spot.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Flamigo going to be detecting it instead, but yeah, that's just a Hurricane into that Incineroar, almost enough to pick up the knockout.
And the confusion.
Yeah, confusion, why not as well, to be able to put it in range of maybe even KOing itself. There is that potential confusion, and it is able to get the passing shot off at least, so going to be able to reduce the premium just a little bit.
And not confused anymore because it's managed to switch its way out. So, yeah, Incineroar will be back another day, but what a nice prediction there from Federico, just understanding that
Sleep Powder, Rage Powder, Hurricane.
Damage, then you're going to be able to knock it out with that Hyper Voice. But if it just protects itself or switches into the Amoonguss, which was the other way that it could be played, well, you've got a good chance of knocking out, and if not knocking out, just nearly knocking out the Incineroar, making sure it can't just keep pivoting in.
Yeah, there might be a way back in for Anthony, maybe if you can get some spores off with the Amoonguss, you're going to be taking a lot of damage from the Hurricane. At any point, if you go for dual wing beat to KO the Vivian through its Focus Sash, well, that opens up the Premium to KO Flamigo with either Hyper Voice or with Moonblast. But then maybe spores can do stuff.
Does Hurricane knock out the... I don't think Hurricane doesn't knock
out. Hurricane
it's a strong move, but Vivian itself isn't that strong.
Einer der Top 10 coolsten Namen, die ich je gehört habe. Aurelion Zoll ist aber auch drin.
Yeah, and then Flamigo's switching out, so maybe if the Amoonguss is able to survive, and it's got the Citrus Berry as well, so if it does survive the Hurricane, it will definitely survive the Primarina, and that would allow a Spore into either Pokemon here, which could maybe give Anthony a way back into the game, especially with that defensive terror, which means it's not going to be weak to the Hurricane anymore.
Yeah, that's a really good shout there from Anthony, just finding the last vestiges of hope there. And of course, you can actually reactivate the Focus Sash on the
Hurricane-Verwirrung wäre insane. Er hat gemisst. Oh mein Gott. Oh my God.
Massive damage it could have done. There is that Hyper Voice able to pick up the knockout on that Incineroar as it was on such low HP. But yeah, the Amoonguss free to spore whichever slot it wants to go for here. It's going to be that and now the Flamigo has been freed up to be able to knock
the
Vivian with a dual wing beat as you pollen puff yourself. And if the Primarina stays asleep for 2 turns, yes, like you mentioned, that's back up to Focus Sash.
Yeah, I think this actually
resistet nicht mehr. Das ist jetzt die Frage. Protected eine Runde.
It's likely that the
Weil Flamigo wahrscheinlich. Es ist 50-50, ob Flamigo jetzt protected oder nicht.
I guess like
Der hat Resilienz, ja.
would still target down into the Vivian with the wing beat, but I'm wondering if actually looking ahead a few turns, the extra damage from one extra dual wing beat, if the Vivian does go for a protect, could actually clutch out an endgame depending on how long this Primarina stays asleep.
Also, nicht stehen auf 0-3-6-1, aber ich spiele noch.
2 in 3 chance of you coming out and getting your Focus Sash back up if you don't target Vivian, but no, correctly does target here.
Patrick hat leider sein Win-in verloren, Chat. Der war ein Game von seinem Win-in entfernt, falls ich es noch nicht mitbekommen habt.
But KOing through the Focus Sash with the dual wing beat, very nicely done indeed. Primarina was guaranteed to sleep that turn, so this is almost certainly going to be that pollen puff to try and heal that Flamigo back up. But you do need to rest the sleep this turn. You can't protect and pollen puff yourself. It has to.
Aber trotzdem insane Leistung von Patrick.
Back up. So if the Primarina was going to stay asleep this turn, you get your Focus Sash back, and then suddenly Flamigo would actually be able to break through with that dual wing beat.
I tell you what, let's just put the Flamigo to the side for a moment. How is the Primarina going to be able to get through effectively that Amoonguss as well?
Game 3.
It's going to be doing decent damage, but not lots of damage. And if it's asleep for turn after turn after turn, Amoonguss can just keep sporing it, and then it's pollen puff after pollen puff after pollen puff.
Yeah, that's probably why he forfeited that.
That's a long end game to play. And to be honest, I would have liked to see how that would have played out, because there's a lot of different factors there. I mean, Moonblast can special attack drop on the Amoonguss, which actually could make a difference. Over 5, 6, 7 pollen puffs still would have been needed to take the knockout on the Primarina, since it resists that bug type being a part fairy type. So yeah, interesting endgame. It really did look like Federico.
I didn't believe in the 3 Pokemon that were remaining. I thought, well, you can't break through Primarina anymore. Where's the damage? It had to be
Ein Game.
But like 3 Dual Moving Beaks will be enough if you've got the opportunity to go for it, because you'd be back to your Focus Sash most likely. I think if the Primarina had woken up in that situation, it was still doable for Federico, and we will never know how that would end up. But if it did stay asleep, I'm pretty confident that Anti would have taken that game.
Well, let's look forward into game 3 now, Jamie. We've got these 2 trainers, such close margins between them. We had the switch up from Anthony bringing Golden Go, and it was enough to be able to take the win in game 2 against Federico.
In game.
What are you thinking about
take the win
game
in
3
game
in terms of
war wichtig zu erwähnen. Hätte auch Outgame sein können.
Were very good here, and maybe it was a speed tie. It seemed like it based on the reaction of Anthony, and it seems like it was what he's going for again. Interesting that he's leading with the Amoonguss as well, because now with a switch up immediately with this Incineroar and Golden Go, the Amoonguss is kind of useless again.
Kind of useless, but it can, yeah, no, it can't even redirect, can it? So, yeah.
Wild, dass Golden Go auf Französisch Promago heißt. Das ist allerletzte Runde, ja, wenn das durch ist, sind wir für heute fertig. Dann können wir endlich rein in den Quest gehen. Ich konnte heute Morgen ja meine Stamina nicht mehr ballern.
On Federico's side, so the question is what is
Kein
Golden
Loss.
Go on Anthony's side going to be doing? Is it going to get a Shadow Ball?
Morgen ist auch wieder so früh, ja. Aber da wird er ausgeschlafen.
Like it tried to in game 2, or is it going to be felled again?
Danach haben wir Quest, das war ja ganz normaler Stream.
There's no Terror here as well, so if that is Shadow Ball, it's going to be interesting too. Move forward. There it was. It was a speed tie. It was a speed tie, and Anthony wins it this time.
One hit KO.
Yes, a life ball Shadow Ball always KOs an opposing Golden Go. The Metal Coat one might not have been able to be strong enough.
Das ist unangenehm für Federico.
From Anthony's side of the field. So we did see that, and now Golden Go on Federico's side taken care of. Here comes the Primarina, but Anthony has just switched in fake out pressure to be able to go for a fake out very safely into the Incineroar.
Übercool, hä? Niemand hatet ja Einkaufen. Einkaufen ist ja ultra cool.
And a massive shake up to the momentum of this game, and now we've got to kind of
re-establish
ourselves. Like, now it's Federico's turn to find a win condition in a very bleak situation. I mean, you really do want your Golden Go to be doing good work in the matchup. You want it to be doing a lot of damage, but
okay, aber nicht so geil, wenn man gestresst ist.
Federico doesn't have the Golden Go to do that.
Ich ultra gerne einkaufen.
Anthony can take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's reaching in Vivian here, so it's nothing like a Garchomp again for Federico, which would have absolutely been the best way to break through the opposing Golden Go and Incineroar on Anthony's side of the field, which is now going for its terrestrialization into that Dragon type.
That's crazy.
Unless there's a Moonblast coming out into it from the opposing
Ich dachte, man lässt sie liefern, weil man keine Zeit hat oder so, aber ich habe nie gehört, wie Leute einkaufen und wack finden. That's crazy.
It was going to be a fake out into that Primarina. That covers for the going for the Moonblast into that Golden Go. But this is a very free
Doesn't matter if you lose the life orb at this stage. Your Golden Go's used the life orb to do what it needed to do. You called it out. Making sure the Shadow Ball knocked out the other Golden Go. Then you can just go for the Terror. If you get your life orb knocked off, well, doesn't matter because you've got the.
But you didn't. You didn't. So this is probably strong enough to KO the Primarina now that you've got your +2.
+1.
Yeah, no, it was Shadow Ball. It's Shadow Ball. It didn't make it. It didn't make it rain as it often does. It was Shadow Ball. This is +2 Golden Go. This might be enough to knock out the Primarina in one shot. And even if it's not, it's going to bring it down so close to the red. Maybe just get that extra little bit of chip damage with the Incineroar. Because if you do go for a Flare Blitz into that Primarina, that would put it in range of +2 make it rain with a life orb for sure.
Or you break the Focus Sash on the Vivian, or you just make sure that the Primarina is not quite as threatening this turn. But I do wonder if that's a haze coming out from Federico. That would really, really change the momentum here. And I'm a little bit surprised actually that Anthony didn't go on the offensive. As you say, it was so easy to be able to take big knockouts there. But Primarina instead going for the Hyper Voice, not going to be very effective into that Amoonguss. And wow,
Nur wie schnell er drückt. Insane. Ich hätte so Angst, mich zu verklicken. Ich habe noch nie jemanden so schnell klicken sehen. Das war ja insane. Der macht Speedrun oder so, ich weiß auch nicht. Ehrlich so. Ich glaube, man muss halt auf Hurricane-Verwirrung hoffen. Der um 18 Uhr einen Friseurtermin, ich glaube auch, ja.
Vivion's not really doing too much. Yes, Hurricane will do some very nice damage to the opposing Amoongus. Maybe you still target the Golden Go and hope for some fusions. But yeah, it's Primarina switching out here. So Incineroar, it will take this Make It Rain, but it's still going to be huge damage coming out.
And it's definitely not going to like it one bit, as Intimidate doesn't
Sein Pocket-Pack ist fertig, der muss es abholen. Er braucht die Verwirrung. Okay.
Here we go. Confusion off the Hurricane. That was one of Frederico's win conditions here. And the Golden goes confused.
Kranke Scheiße. Kranke Scheiße. Ach du Kacke.
That Vivian is still on the board, and we saw already
nicht
on the Golden Go this turn.
Warte, der hat Dings, glaube ich.
Next to it with Incineroar, so yeah, Frederico finding a way to come back
into this. Womit häufiger trifft.
Normally, you would be able to incredibly safely go for a double protect.
Ja.
It's not safe because maybe the Golden Go isn't able to protect because of another the confusion coming out from the Hurricane. If you can double protect, that's still pretty good because then you'd be able to Rage Powder away the Hurricane that could have been a KO into Golden Go and still get off your Make It Rain. But yeah, Federico going for the win condition that he can spot, getting that confusion into the opposing Golden Go. No double protect though coming out here. It is going to be a fake out into that opposing Golden Go. A massive Hurricane coming out from the into the Amoongus. Enough to be able to pick up.
Das ist mal ein Comeback, ach du Scheiße.
The little mushroom that couldn't going down to
das
the
ist ein Comeback gerade.
Golden Go, of course.
Immer noch plus 2 Golden Go.
Now Anthony gets an opportunity to bring his own fake out here, but there is also that one unrevealed Pokemon, and it could be that Flamigo there putting the pressure onto the Vivian, putting the pressure onto Incineroar, and now there's some mind games to play. Does the Vivian go for a Rage Powder to stop the close combat into the Incineroar? Is the dual wing beat just the move of choice? But
Vivian auch wieder ein Mon, was viele Leute spielen.
Give Incineroar an opportunity to break the focus dash on Flamigo or do that last little bit of damage to the Golden Go.
Yeah, if you dual wing beats and KO the Vivian, you won't be able to KO the
opposing
Incineroar here.
Ja, muss er ja.
Most likely it seems. There's the
Ach du Scheiße!
That would have been a protect, keeping it safe, but there's the close combat into the opposing Incineroar. No Rage Powder coming out either. That's a clean one-hit KO into the opposing Incineroar.
Ja, aber Federico kann immer noch sein Hurricane müssen.
Or is it going to be a KO into that opposing Golden Go, which would free up the Primarina?
Never mind. Der wäre sogar für Protect gegangen und Federico hat Goldengo Double Targeted, ne? Anthony spielt es ja eigentlich gerade perfekt, aber es macht keinen Unterschied. Nee, Teil, das ist das letzte Match gerade.
Give himself a little bit of breathing room in this endgame scenario, but both of the Pokemon on Frederico's side can go for a protect. You can just burn the fake out and then go for damage in the next turns. And of course,
jetzt wird es auch sicher runterspielen.
Probably not going to be doing too much to the Primarina. Maybe there's a world where the Citrus Berry gets knocked off. That might give Anthony a little bit more opportunity to knock out the Primarina. But there it is, the double protect. No fake out going to be in play this turn.
No, but then that means you can very safely go for your double KO into the opposing Vivian, and then assumedly go for either the knockoff to get rid of the Citrus Berry, or maybe Parting Shot to try and allow your Pokemon to survive. There is also the mind game of, well, when you've KO'd this Vivian, assumedly the Vivian is now going down to the dual wing beat. The next turns, do you potentially wide guard?
Hat Patrick Dummiwiese mit Schwächenschutz und Kraftvorrat gespielt.
But then if you catch the Hyper Voice,
ah nee, hat dagegen verloren!
or another Parting Shot, and then you should be able to survive. So
Ach du Scheiße, er hat gegen Schwächten schon Stummi-Wiesel mit Kraftvorrat verloren. Ja, okay, das tut echt ein bisschen weh. Das tut ein bisschen weh. Aber auch lustig.
I think Moonblast is definitely the play. I mean, Incineroar's going to do less damage than Flamigo to Free Marina, so you've definitely got to consider it. But of course, we haven't been talking about the option to go for the Terra. Is this going to be enough? Ghost on the Vivian. Vivion's not known for being good at taking hits, certainly not.
Your wing beats way weaker though, but no, it's close combat.
Oh, big scrappy!
Oh. For the close combat into the ghost, which is definitely enough to KO. We saw the dual wing beat damage previously. I don't think it would have been enough into the Terra Ghost, but he called the Terra Ghost absolutely fantastic. The scrappy coming through and close combat cleanly one-hit KOs that opposing Vivian, and there goes the Citrus Berry thanks to that knockoff from the Incineroar. That was
wait a second.
Damage here. The Focus Sash is still in plate for the Flamigo as well. Yes, there is the hype voice to break that Focus Sash. I say break the Focus Sash, bring it down to the Focus Sash.
Wait a second.
Is there going to be enough damage here? Because yeah, the Citrus Berry gone. Is Dual Wing Beat going to be enough paired with the Flare Blitz? Or do you go for potentially that Wide Guard to get an extra turn of Flare Blitz into the opposing Flamigo as well?
But if you play the next level, then maybe the Flamigo goes for the Protect on the Moonblast and the Incineroar gets an opportunity.
Ja, das Anzeige wieder auf der Seite.
There's no safe way.
Und Michi steht 8-0, Chat. Michi 8-0. So nämlich. So nämlich.
There's too much here, too many layers of different protection for these players to go for. It really does come down to the decision-making process. Who can get in the other player's mind and decide on what they're going to do? Well, Federico wants a little bit of a clue.
Und 3-7-1. Oh mein Gott, das ist stark. Und 3-7-1. Stark. Stark, stark. Okay, jetzt kurz konzentrieren.
Yeah. So maybe that's actually enough because there's no Citrus Berry anymore to be able to knock out that Primarina just regardless. We're not actually playing mind games.
Nicht Breakburn können. Da hätte er keinen Sash mehr gehabt, dann wäre er getötet worden. Oh mein Gott, Anthony! Ist er der beste Spieler der Welt, oder wie? Krank! Oh mein Gott. Oh mein Gott. Dual Wingbeat kann immer noch daneben gehen, Chat. Dual Wingbeat kann immer noch daneben gehen.
Enough to KO this Primarina. The dual wing beat might, but it will be really close. But you've got the extra turn of Flare Blitz now. Dual wing beat not 100% accurate, of course, but it should be enough to be able to KO the Primarina. And it does connect. There's the first dual wing beat. There's the second dual wing beat. That's in range of Flare Blitz. We've seen the Incineroar faster than the Primarina. It's going to be able to pick up the KO here.
Krank! Aber verdient. 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 Komplett verdient. Kranke Scheiße.
And I think we're speechless.
I can hear the crowd through my headphones right now. Oh, they
Aber
are
krank verdient.
Absolutely wild. Anthony here taking the win against Federico Camperosi, the underdog in this matchup in our top 8.
Verdient.
Out all the stops, playing for their win conditions. That game too.
Crazy shit.
Found a way, even in a bad position, to be able to take a
Crazy
win. Took it to a game 3, and then found that wide guard on the hyper voice to be able to just clutch out that last little bit of damage, and looking at those rolls, I think it was needed.
It was absolutely.
Aber geile Matches. Rhein 7-1. Michi 8-0. Machin. Und Ibrahim hat auch sein Win-In geschafft. Der ist auch morgen dabei. Das ist ein HM. Schöne Sache. Schöne Sache, Harry. Schöne Sache. Wenn ich es noch 5-3 gegangen, das ist wichtig für Punkte. Kusha auch. Das ist schon gut, das ist schon wirklich gut. Felix leider 4-4 und Dennis auch, das tut weh. Flo ist aber auch noch ein Game vor 5-3 entfernt. Ich glaube, 5-3 ist schon wichtig für Big Points. Deswegen Felix und Dennis tut sehr weh.
Wow, what a finish to this first day.
Er hat gegen Marius verloren und Marius ist 6-2. Hat sein Win-It-In immerhin trotzdem secured. Wir haben echt viele Day-2-Gänger aus Deutschland. Schon ganz geil.
But then having the confusion coming out from the Hurricane and that kind of puts a scupper
einige viele Deutsche. Ich sehe sehr viele Italien-Flaggen und sehr viele Deutschland-Flaggen. Ein paar Spanier sind 6-2, aber ein Niederländer ist 8-0, ein Spanier 8-0 und ein Deutscher 8-0. Man weiß ja, was geht. Ja, Reim ist... Ich habe eben schon gesagt, das ist so geil, was Reim mittlerweile für eine Consistenz hinlegt.
Absolutely. You saw how impactful that speed tie win was there. Anthony knew it was a speed tie because he lost it in the game too. Federico didn't have that information. This KO into the Amoonguss, I wouldn't have expected that. Like, Vivian is not the strongest Pokemon. Hurricane, I guess, it's a pretty high base power move, but able to pick up the KO there. A really nice call of the close combat. We haven't even gone back to mention, close combat had a quad resistance of the Vivian as well. Yes. That was the way back into the game, because yeah, the dual wing beat wasn't enough, calling that terrestrialization. This Hurricane able to pick up the KO on the opposing Golden Go as well. The Hurricane confusion was so impactful. If the Make It Rain had gone off, easy game over for Anthony after that for game one. But yeah, what a call to close combat that Vivian.
That is just unbelievable there. Not just calling that it was going to go for Terra Ghost, but then, yeah, as you say, targeting into a quad wing. Vivian. If that doesn't come off, if you close combat and they don't go for the Terra, wow. I mean, you are in trouble in that situation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And you see there, like, that wasn't enough. Though that was Flare Blitz and dual wing beat, which wasn't enough. You needed that second Flare Blitz, and Anthony did find that way with the Y-God on the hyper voice. Just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, we need a breather.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm almost glad that this was the final match of today, because yeah, I don't think we can top that today. Yeah. It's fantastic. Like I said, it's left us speechless.
What more can we say?
I know. We can talk about Pokemon for a long time.
And we do.
And we do. And we're kind of struggling here because it's just absolutely mind-blowing at that endgame. Like, you don't get
und passend dazu ist mein Essen da auf Klo 5-3. Ne, steht noch 4-3. Der zockt noch.
The triangular way of just hyper voice into Y-Guard, into Moonblast, into Detect, into Moonblast, into Incineroar, attack Flamigo. Like, there was a triangle way of just who got the better end of it. So it wasn't guaranteed, and it came down to the
Flo ist mittlerweile 5-3.
Just, yeah, absolutely brilliant way to end this.
Mann. Ich hasse eigentlich so viel S zu bestellen. Weiß, Dorm, ich weiß. Aber das ist halt immer Zeit, die ich spare, weißt du? Dann kann ich mehr Content machen. So holt er trotzdem ganz gute GP.
That while Federico played that fantastically, I mean, after the Golden Go got knocked out in Game 3, Federico.
Also Ausgleich 2 Stunden Ringfit am Montag. Machen wir.
Totally got that confusion. The confusion came through. It's like tick, 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 tick.
Aber nicht 2 Stunden.
Federico's back in this match. But to again, I'm gonna say it again, mental fortitude. That's what you need in this situation. Playing at the top level, and of course, both these trainers being 5 and 2, that is their tournament lives on the line. Whether or not they make it to 6 wins to be able to play in day 2. Unfortunately for Federico, that's not going to be his fate in Dortmund tomorrow. But he does get an opportunity to play the League Cup. Tomorrow for a few extra championship points. He's probably earned some championship points on the way through as well. So it's definitely commiserations, but yeah, he's definitely not out of the competition, so to speak, going into day 2. But yeah, Anthony gets to continue on and see if they can make it all the way to that asymmetrical.
Dankeschön.
Well, their previous best finish was just a top 64.
Morgen also Michi Finale. Ich hoffe doch.
definitely at least match that with going into the day 2 as well.
Das wäre schon sehr geil.
Pushing further as well. So a really, really good showing. And I think it's always nice to see the quote-unquote underdog come out on top against the more experienced player. And we've seen that time and time again. Like, just because you're facing that experienced player does not mean they're automatically going to win because of their experience. There's so many trainers that are just coming into the format.
Also ich bin safe für Rahim. 100%ig, weil ich weiß nicht, ob Rahim dann trotzdem seinen Worlds Invite hätte. Weil Michi hat seinen ja schon. Weiß ich nicht, ob dann dafür der zweite. Aber Michi ist mein Rahim ist mein bester Freund, Stormy. Ich bin immer für Rahim.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, Jamie. And I am here.
Ich will wissen, was du sagst, das ist wichtig.
Round 8 winner, Anthony Manalash. How are you doing, my friend? Have you taken a moment to breathe after that last match?
Yeah, I went to celebrate like 5 seconds with my friends. Yeah, I'm relieved. I'm relieved I managed to win this. It was tough because Fede Campo is a really good player. But
Und der hat mies Hacks bekommen.
I end up winning and I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, no, just firstly, congratulations, because
Thank you.
I think that's probably one of the most exciting matches that we've had this weekend, and a great way for us to have the round 8, the last round of Swiss.
Nur wenn du fragst, also
today
Discord.
Well. And there was turns and twists.
Hallo Champ.
Hallo, live aus der Zentrale. Wie läuft die Live-Berichterstattung?
Das läuft sehr gut.
Sehr cool, freut mich.
Geiles Michi-Game heute on Stream gehabt. Hast du das Final-Game gerade gesehen? Das war ja insane.
Bro, ich habe nichts gesehen.
Aber war sehr geil. Weil Federico hat okay, pass auf, es stand 1-1. Federico hat eigentlich safe verloren, aber er bekommt mit Hurricane die Verwirrung auf Goldango. Goldango haut sich zweimal selber. Dadurch würde Anthony eigentlich verlieren, aber er predicted Terra Ghost auf Vivian mit einem Close Combat von Flamingo in den Vivian-Slot, one-shotted das Vivian und gewinnt dann am Ende, weil er einmal Whiteguard gegen das Primarene noch drückt. Mit seinen letzten beiden Mons gegen nur Primarene. Und deswegen gewinnt er dann trotzdem noch. Das war insane.
Das ist crazy.
Das war wirklich krass.
Das ist crazy.
War ein geiles Match.
Ja, nice.
Wie geht's dir, Champ?
Bro, ich bin so tot.
Das ist
Mein Bauch tut weh.
Aber es ist geil,
ich bin so kaputt.
Aber es ist geil, dass jetzt früh zu Ende ist. Ne? So 18 Uhr ist schon in Ordnung.
Ey, Bro, ich bin so happy. Ich bin 7-1. Ey, ich bin 5-0 gestartet. Ja. Und ich bin auch, es war wirklich so ein knappes Game. Mein Win-in quasi gegen Marius. Also das zweite Game halt. Das war wirklich, bekomme ich keine Verwirrung ab. Gewinne ich. Aber ich bekomme halt die Verwirrung. Alles gut. Aber dann halt dieser Bounce-Back quasi von einem 5-1 auf 7-1, da bin ich gerade so happy einfach. Ja, schon aber ja, ich bin einfach happy. Danke fürs Anfeiern.
Immer.
Ey, ich bin Day 2 und so, ich habe quasi ein Leben, nicht so wie bei Worlds. Da hatte ich halt kein Leben.
Ja. Ihr habt eben auch schon die ganze Zeit zum Chat gesagt, wie stolz ich bin, dass man mittlerweile auch diese Consistency bei dir krass merkt, weißt du?
Danke, Mann.
Aber ist halt for real so.
Wie bitte?
Ist halt for real so. Ich finde es richtig geil.
Dankeschön. Ich bin auch einfach happy. Also Back-to-Back Day 2 ist eh nicht selbstverständlich. Dann auch nach der Woche und so weiter und so fort. Ich wusste nicht mehr, dass ich fit werde. Und dann halt mit einem Team, wo ich halt 10 Games mitgemacht habe, bin ich echt happy.
Fühlst du dich confident mit dem Team auch für morgen?
Ja, also ich fühle mich confident. Also in meine Plays fühle ich mich confident. Ich würde sagen, gegen Ende des Tages habe ich so 1, 2 unnötige Fehler gemacht. Die mir jetzt nicht gekostet haben, aber es sind so Fehler, die halt passieren, wenn der Tag halt lang ist. Und da muss ich morgen ein bisschen aufpassen.
Das sehe ich. Wie viele Runden gibt es morgen? Also
3 Runden in Tukat, wie bei Worlds.
Okay, oha. Und du musst also 2 gewinnen.
Du musst 2 von 3 gewinnen, genau.
Krank, hä? Voll gut.
Ja gut, aber 7-1, also ich spiele ja auch gegen Leute, die 7-1 sind, ne? Das sind ja auch krasse Leute.
Klar, natürlich. Aber Feist, weißt du, wer ist schon Feist, weißt du?
Ey, Feist ist so krass, Alter.
Ja, for real, ich hab's gesehen. Ich find's auch richtig schade, dass Michi gegen ihn spielen musste. Das ist echt sad.
Ja, auf jeden Fall. Vor allem, weil die jetzt gut Matchup-Pläne machen werden, weil ein paar sind ja von denen, also das Ding ist, das Matchup gegen das Team ist echt hart, was Feist spielt.
Okay.
Und das sind mehrere mit 7-1.
Ja,
Und ich
checke.
bin 7-1. Das heißt, bisschen nervig.
Aber wie kommt es, dass so viele Leute dasselbe oder ein ähnliches Team wie ihr spielt? Haben die alle Michis Stream geguckt?
Nein. Also die spielen ein anderes Team. Die spielen nicht wie das Team von Michi.
Nee, aber viele Leute spielen, also habe ich gesehen, spielen das Team, was Michi spielt und du, ohne Primarina und dafür mit Dondoso.
Ja, das Ding ist halt, das mit Electek war halt sehr populär schon und dann kam noch Michi noch dazu und so. Michi kommt auch gerade zu mir. Der schaut jetzt gerade ein bisschen durch die Gegend.
Ja.
Und jetzt, hallo Michi, was geht? Timo ist gerade am Start.
Ach so. Digga, was ist denn hier los?
Hallo Champ, was geht?
Ja, gar nichts.
Du musstest aber gewinnen, Michi. Aber wir haben dein Stream-Match sehr enjoyed, aber du kamst in meinen Chat und hast gesagt, 100% Day 2, hast nicht gelogen, sage ich ehrlich.
Ja, mal schauen.
Ja, wir machen Finale, oder?
Ja, doch. Also,
Haben wir auch gesagt im Chat.
Ja? Euro-Match Finale, das wäre so
richtig. Übel.
Lass einfach Series beim Papier spielen.
Aber warte. Wenn ihr beide im Finale wärt und wenn Michi gewinnen würde, würdest du dann trotzdem den Regional Win Worlds Invite bekommen?
Nee.
Deswegen,
Okay.
er muss gewinnen.
Das heißt, Michi donated dann.
Nein, er donatet nicht. Aber,
Ach so.
wenn du
Nein.
nicht aber wir können dann du kannst trotzdem das Preisgeld haben und ich habe den Worlds Invite.
Aber nein, das machen wir natürlich nicht. An die Pokémon Comedy, das machen wir natürlich nicht, okay? Das machen wir nicht. Das ist ein Witz.
Also, also auch generell, das würde ich auch gar nicht wollen,
Nein,
weil
ich
ich
weiß,
möchte, dass wir eigener Kraft in Regional gewinnen.
Genau.
Ich habe nichts davon, wenn
Safe.
Michi mir donatet und Turn 1 Irrlicht in sein eigenes Pokémon drückt, so.
Aber
Timo,
wäre auch ein
weißt du, wie
bisschen
viel ich in
lustig.
Games gegangen bin?
Wie bitte?
Weißt du, wie viel ich in Games gegangen bin?
16-0.
16-1.
Ja, schlecht. Wascht.
Loser. Ich verkaufe
Ja,
nicht. Ich wollte mir jetzt mein Leben nehmen. In-game.
Ja, verkauf deinen Slot. Ich nehme ihn, komm. Ich bin Michael Kelch.
Okay, ich würde jetzt gehen.
Ja,
Wir müssen
safe.
auch langsam uns auf den Weg machen.
Geht ihr noch was essen?
Ja, safe.
Ja, mach das. Genieß den Abend. Wann geht's morgen los?
8:30 Uhr, glaube ich.
Okay.
Ich muss mich von jemandem verabschieden, deswegen, wir sehen uns, wir hören uns.
Ja.
Morgen.
Morgen wird wild. Liebe euch.
Danke.
Ganz viel schönen Abend noch. Ciao.
Kuss ans Chat, danke für den Support, tschüss.
Ja, Chat, morgen 9 Uhr scheinbar, wie es ausschaut. Wir können auch Nacht durchmachen einfach. Ich muss die Nacht mein Video schneiden.
For quite a while, and
Kann ich direkt
you want to go and
durchmachen.
celebrate with your friends.
Yeah.
Talking about the friends, have you got any friends here or at home that might be watching?
Wenn du 3
that you'd like
Games,
to give a shout out to
wenn du
before
3
you
Games
go and celebrate.
bis Dings ist,
Obviously,
das ist halt ein Camping-Video, muss ich schneiden.
Merci.
Wenn 3 Games
My
bis Top Gun ist, dann
where
müssen wir
I
um
prep
9 Uhr am
with
Start
them
sein. Ich muss
I do
immer Video
everything with
machen.
them. Team PE, also a French team, all the French
Maybe,
community
keine Ahnung.
besides that, obviously.
Schauen wir später.
And my brother, which I wouldn't have done everything in Pokemon
Müssen wir später
if
gucken.
he wasn't there, so yeah.
That's amazing.
Hm.
Gonna make me cry. But Anthony, congratulations once again,
Thank you
my
very
friend, and good luck in the rest of the tournament. We look forward to hopefully seeing more of you. And everyone at home, sit tight. We are going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to wrap up day 1 here at the Dortmund Regional Championships.
Hello and welcome to the Pokemon Center pop-up here in Honolulu, Hawaii at Pokemon World 2024. We are here with some champions who are going to show us what it's like to shop with a
Das
pro.
wäre ultra witzig.
That's right. This is the best place to be here at the Pokemon World Championships.
And who are you standing here with?
And an international champion, Polaris.
Aber mach mir Maybe,
And
Chat.
I am here with international champion Avery. And what is it like to compete in a Pokemon Championship?
Well, kind of stressful. If you're doing it bad, I have to tell you.
Moin, Nevi, danke für den Follow.
How do you feel about competing this year?
It's pretty fun.
Are you gonna win, do you think?
I hope so.
What are your favorite things to shop for? Plushies.
I mostly like the big ones.
How do you feel coming here to compete in Hawaii?
Das stimmt, Rick.
A little nervous because I don't know what to play yet.
I mean, you're a champion. You can make it happen. I love that I've gotten
Aber
to
same.
meet you before, actually, at a Pokemon Center. I've met your family before.
Thank you, Wango.
What's your
Danke für den
favorite
Follow.
part about traveling to compete?
Metagame. This is called an anti-meta deck.
Mhm. Danke mal, Nemi, Dankeschön.
Do you
Mom.
think Cyrus will one day be a champion like you?
Probably. I really hope so.
What's your favorite thing about coming to the Pokemon
Schaut's bei
Center?
Särgen aus,
Definitely
das
big
mit gucken.
plushies.
What's the #1 thing you're looking for in there?
A big slowpoke.
A big Slowpoke. You heard it here first,
A
folks.
big Slowpoke.
You told me that you like to look at giant
Na, Särgen
plushies.
4-3
I
leider.
couldn't
Schade,
find
aber
a giant
trotzdem
plushie,
safe
but I
fürs
found
erste
something
Regional
really
im
big for you.
TCG.
Are you ready? This Pokemon can turn into any Pokemon. What do
Ja,
you think?
stimmt, Rick. Du bist leider ein Turbo-Loser, Spaßrick. Du bist
You said you
wertvoll
wanted
und
a big
beliebt und wirst
plushie.
gebraucht.
I found you something even bigger.
Das stimmt, aber reicht hast du trotzdem nichts.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
big, right? What do you think?
I think it's amazing.
All right, well, you're taking it home, buddy.
All right, let's go.
Here we go.
Let's
Told you
go.
It's huge, right? Pretty big. Watch it.
So, der geht noch rein, Chat. Und dann nur eine Ausbildung mit 1 abgeschlossen, ja. Komm, kannst du direkt beenden. Das ist nichts für dich. Wo soll it? Was geht? Der geht noch schnell rein und dann gehen wir direkt rein in Quest. Ja, stimmt, Rick, true. Du hast recht.
I think the toughest thing will be getting in your carry-on, but once it's on the plane, like you're
Sehr
good to
gespielt
go.
beim TCG mit. Särgen ist noch gerade Pokémon TCG. Regi Drago. Ich habe vom Sabaton noch ein bisschen mit ihm gepracticed. Habe ihn noch ein bisschen beim Shiro-san, unser Mann, ja. Habe ihm noch ein bisschen beim Team, beim Deckbuilding geholfen. Wir haben gepracticed. War nice. Ich bin so froh, dass ich nicht in Dortmund bin und TCG spiele. Weil ich würde halt Snorlax Tower spielen. Das will ja niemand. Nicht mal ich will es. Aber ich würde es machen.
Sing it with me. We are
Oh,
family.
no.
I got all my mouse friends with me. They might not have ears, but we are still family.
Oh,
and
no.
so are you, trainers. We're part of the Pokemon community. We are all sweet little mice, just gathering together as one big happy Pokemon family. And that's certainly what the Dortmund Day 1 stream has made us feel, right, Ben?
Oh, definitely. Today has been absolutely electric. It's always a fantastic thing to be starting off the season in Europe and being at the first event of the season. Always exciting to see what players are going to be doing, what they're going to be achieving, and of course seeing those new faces rising to the top as well. And we've seen all of those things here in Dortmund.
Yeah, we really have. And I mean, new faces rising to the top, also new team compositions. To be honest, I'm surprised at how consistent we have seen some of these teams being, as in I thought maybe there'd be more experimentation. We certainly saw some experimentation, don't get me wrong. But feels like we're finding some common archetypes right now, Lee.
Ich bin aktuell nicht so heiß darauf.
Why? Well, what's distracting
Wenn ich wieder einen ernst zu nehmen, da kommt
What was the question, Charlie?
We've seen some very consistent archetypes.
There we go. Thank you, Jamie.
Like just the switch up of like, well, do I go with the Amoongus version of the Porygon 2, or do I go with the Vivian version of the
Thank you so much, Jamie, for bringing us back down to earth.
I know, right? Yeah, it's almost like I heard the question and will answer it. So yeah, like Garchomp over Ursaluna, we've seen Electabuzz or Magmar Core as well that's been a choice. So, and it seemed like Electabuzz was coming out on top there. So yeah, like I think we are getting somewhat of an established teams coming out. Like obviously this is our first one in the European region, and there's only been one in North America, but it seems like some players are honing in on, yes, this is an archetype I think will be consistent.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's almost like, Lee, you don't often have a man dressed up as a giant mouse talking to you. It's really strange that threw you so much. Anyway,
it's normal to me.
Very well. All I'm hearing coming out your mouth is mouse hold, mouse hold, mouse hold.
Yeah, just squeak, 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 squeak. Yeah, exactly that, exactly that. Lee, well, go on. If you're focused now, then tell us, what's been your highlight of today?
Definitely, well, I mean, I would say that last match, but
nope, that's mine.
Jamie's already got it, and because he saved us, I'll let him have it. So, no, I would say Evo in round 7. I think the kilowatt roll, how quick that match was, just incredible to see in the Galarian Weezing putting in some work, and just the intricacies of how that battle played out. It was just phenomenal to see. If we get more like that, you know, tomorrow, I can't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool to see someone, you know, take a team that did well at a previous regional championship, just put their own spin on it. Evo was saying that Paul Mott not working so well on that team, that Wolf Glick, Justin Karras, perhaps others were running in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. And here we can see that team in action and just say, the Paul Mott's not working so well for me. I want to use the kilowatt roll. That's more my play style. Get the competitive boost, fast, big discharge coming out, spread moves, of course, not doing anything into the Toad Scroll, and just doing it that way. And there it is, that kilowatt roll getting all competitive, massive boost to its special attack there. So cool to see. And Jamie, go on, take us through it. Take us through that in that last round.
Like the last game, like we always have fantastic games, and we consistently do. That was an unbelievable end game that we had, and I don't use that word lightly. That, like, the fact that seemed like it was such a good position on turn 1 for Anthony after that Shadow Ball KO, and then suddenly the Hurricane Confusions are probably stealing this away, and then suddenly being able to close combat the bug and flying type of Vivian into then getting the Y guard correct on the Hyper Voice at the end, like just such an incredible call at that point, because if that's a Moonblast, then Federico wins. So being able to get that call, that Hyper Voice into the Y guard, just absolutely brilliant end game.
And once again, seeing a lesser-known player come out on top over a better-known one, just like happened in Baltimore with Nicholas Morales beating Paul Chua in those grand finals. So exciting. What about you, Ben?
Well, I'm glad I'm sitting down after that final match of the day, because, Jamie and I, we were speechless. We were speechless before. We're still speechless now. But for me, I'd look back a little bit earlier in the day, and actually Alex Soto versus Yol, where we played 2 tight games. Alex trying to use the strategy that he's so well known for in Trick Room, and using it very well, making tweaks to the team that he used previously. 1 Pokemon change, and of course a couple of move changes here or there. I'm sure the way that he's trained it has
Guck mal, das sind die Leute, für die wir heute geroutet haben, Chat.
In Game 3,
Und die Standings sind eigentlich insane.
Indeedee, out against our Chaladon and Sarina.
So gut.
And the final Gambit goes into our Chaladon, gets the knockout. Indeedee switches out into Hatterene, and the Sarina taunts into the Magic Bounce Hatterene. That gets reflected by Magic Bounce. The Sarina taunts itself. Follow Me Trick Room comes out, and Alex just absolutely ran away with the game, and it was just... It's that way of playing what looks like a linear team,
aber die hier alle ein Game
to how you expect it, but so cleverly as well, and it was just a fabulous moment. One of the best plays I've seen ever.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's all of these you had to be there moments. So make sure you go back through the stream and check out all of those fantastic plays. And so kind of you all to ask, and since you do, my highlight of today would have been this rivalry we have between the Magmar and Electabuzz as the Follow Me Vital Spirit user of choice. It's interesting to see which players have been opting for Magmar, which for Electabuzz. We'll see which will go through to day 2 tomorrow. Speaking of which, let's take a look at some of those players who we will be seeing on day 2 in Dortmund. 101 total players qualified. We're going to just see a selection of those names here. Jamie, what's standing out to you?
Yeah, we saw that we could have featured Joan Garcia.
Wie viele Deutsche sind qualifiziert für Day 2?
Final round, and it seems like they did come out on top and are going to be throwing that 18-0 record, which is absolutely where you want to be going into that now continuation of the Swiss.
Aber mehr ist Italiener, glaube ich.
Really good showing. Quite a few trainers we were able to feature Michael Kelch as well, and
Michael Kelch,
incredibly well. I believe he was at least 7-0 going into the end game, end of this round, and I think he was able to take another win if he's up there as well, and potentially another 8-0.
Als ob Reim nicht dabei steht. Der steht 7-1. Da sind 16 Leute, oder wie viel ist nicht Reim? 18. Da ist er!
With Ross going into day 2, I'm going to continue
to keep it under my chest.
Look at all these extra names as well that we're going into day 2. The one that I really want to call out, Jack Clark, that we weren't able to feature today, also running a bit of a spicy team. Toxtricity and Driftblim on Jack Clark's team. Definitely some spicy picks, but he's been saying today that he is back, and that is very, very clear from his record today.
That's so good to hear, and I know that Jack Clark's been doing very well with that team in locals as well. Eloy Hahn, someone we were able to feature on stream earlier, a Terra Bug Archaladon, really nice defensively into other Archaladons, so you don't take as much damage from body press, for example. Lee, there's Evo right there for you.
Right there, yeah, alongside, you know, some other well-known players. You've got Fevzi there, Nico de Cognetta, another very well-known player making it through. I mean, all of these players really have to be congratulated just for the accomplishment of making it into day 2. There's a long way to go in this tournament yet. We've got a whole another day to go. But I mean, just getting to this part, a halfway mark, and you're still in contention to go forward and potentially have a chance to win it. It's incredible to see. The names are just continuing, Charlie.
Yeah, Florian Temer, of course, the winner of Dortmund in the last season, still making day 2 here. Potentially will be able to defend their title.
That's like crazy.
Only time will tell. But then, of course, we've got to call out some of the names we're less familiar with here that are doing fantastically well, like Anthony, who we just covered in that last Swiss round. Potentially with all of the insane calls that Anthony was making in that previous game, could go all the way. Who knows? It really is any trainer's competition right now, Ben.
It so is. I mean, this is the example. We've already talked about it so much already today, how the underdog can succeed, how it's not just guaranteed that the more experienced player is going to win, and that's what Anthony shows us, of course. But one of the names that's calling out to me here is Sergio Ramirez. I believe last Dortmund we saw them in the top 4 of...
Also Chat, für morgen, ja? Damit ihr checkt, was hier abgeht. Morgen Topcut, ne? Ich weiß nicht, Topcut sind, glaube ich, auch 8 Leute, ne? Ich weiß nicht, ob 8 oder 16. Also, morgen gibt es 3 Runden vor Topcut. Michi muss 1 von 3 Matches gewinnen und Rai muss 2 von 3 Matches gewinnen. Was denn, während Regional Timer auf 0 geht? Dann schauen wir Regional noch zu Ende. Da schauen wir das Regional noch zu Ende. Also es kann sein, dass wir vielleicht maybe die Nacht durchmachen. Während ich das Video schneide, ist der Timer aber pausiert. Das kann ich auf jeden Fall schon mal sagen, das habe ich versprochen. Aber je nachdem, wie spät es ist, wenn wir mit dem Video fertig sind, kann es sein, dass sie die Nacht dann durchmachen. Weil um 9 Uhr geht es nämlich direkt weiter und ich weiß nicht, ob ich bis dahin wach bin. Wenn ich aber sehe, okay, ich bin um 3, 4 Uhr mit dem Video fertig, dann versuche ich vielleicht trotzdem nochmal 4, 5 Stündchen Schlaf reinzuholen. Schauen wir dann. Also das wird alles ein relativ spontanes Ding. Na, um 9 Uhr geht's halt los. Morgen früh.